Thank you, and I now recognize Representative Case for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. The ranking member asked two, I think, good questions. The first is that he asked, what exactly is the problem? And the second question that he asked was, why should Americans take the blame for the excesses of the rest of the world? Those are two good questions in this debate. As to the first question, give a couple of examples from my perspective. In the state of Hawaii, we have the largest marine monument in our country, Papahanaumokuakea National Marine Monument, and there we get somewhere around 52 metric tons of marine debris, almost all ghost fishing gear every year. Now, why is that a problem? Well, it wrecks coral reefs, which are endangered around the world, and it degrades into smaller parcels, which then are ingested by our marine life. We have 1,400 Hawaiian monk seals left in the entire world and declining. They get entrapped in this debris and die. That species is highly endangered. We have invasive species from elsewhere in the world hitching a ride on ghost fishing gear to Hawaii, the endangered species capital of the world, where we cannot take that kind of external impact. We have in Hawaii, I went on the first World Reef Day on June 1st of this year to the north shore of Oahu to a beach in Kahuku, where I tried to clean up a coastline with the Sustainable Coastlines Hawaii, one of many grassroots organizations across our country, trying to do something about it on a micro level. A beach that I used to walk on that was pretty white is now all different colors, green, yellow, red. Very small particles of plastics, not degraded, but down into the level of ingestion at the very lowest levels of marine life. Now, that's what the problem is. Now, as to the ranking member's second question, why should we take the hit when the rest of the world isn't doing anything about it? I think that's a really legitimate question because it reminds me greatly of the debate over climate change, where essentially the same question is posed. Why should we reduce our emissions when the rest of the world is not doing that? And that leads us to international agreements as what I can see as being one of the only ways to get at this problem from an international perspective. So, Mr. Danson, does Oceana partner with international organizations towards an international solution to plastics in the ocean, given that it does put us at a disadvantage for us to unilaterally curb our plastics use from several perspectives, and yet we need to do it. Cities and counties and states throughout the country are doing that. The city and county of Honolulu is doing it right now. Are you partnering with the rest of the world to try to find those international agreements?
Yes, I believe we are. I think there are literally thousands, or at least 1,000 groups around the world working on plastics. This is a united effort. I can get you more specifics when I talk to the staff of Oceana. We haven't talked about climate change and greenhouse gases, but plastic is such a huge part of that story. I don't see how we cannot address our plastic, our greenhouse gas emissions, and if we don't do that, how we expect the rest of the world to follow along. So, yeah, sorry.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Ratajkowski, you stated in your testimony that you are supportive of, you and your industry are supportive of Save Our Oceans 2.0, which is a bipartisan bicameral bill introduced in both the House and the Senate, and that calls for much greater studies, some incentives at the federal level, but it also calls for pursuing international agreements that would curb plastic use, especially single-use plastic use, around the world. And I just want to, your testimony sounded to be inconsistent with that position, that part of Save Our Oceans 2.0. Are you supportive of pursuing international agreements whereby the entire world would agree to a reduction in plastic use and a reduction of dumping of plastics into the oceans?
I would say we are involved and eagerly working with international organizations to find solutions to the problems that exist today. We are engaged with whether it's the British Plastics Union, the Canadian Plastics Union, Industry Association, the New Zealand Plastics Association, working in consortium with them to define those abilities to minimize the waste in the ocean and in the land as well.
Okay, so that doesn't sound like what I'm talking about. It sounds like you're working with the rest of the plastics industry around the world to manage it going into the oceans, but not necessarily reducing it.
Reducing or reusing or recycling, there's a lot of different options that we're looking at in the Save Our Seas 2.0. There are many parts of it that we do like and other parts that we would still like to negotiate with.
Okay, thank you.